Hello and welcome to the audiobook, The Green Lightning. Before we begin reading, a personal word from the author himself. Welcome to my very first audiobook video. My name is Hagop Kaladjian, and I feel like an old wizard, one who has seen many battles, faced many hardships, and tasted many triumphs. I have countless stories to tell you, and now, I have set aside my staff and robe to take up the pen as a humble author. Adventurer, come closer and listen carefully. My tales are filled with worlds of action, romance, and wild, unexpected twists, crafted just for your enjoyment. And The Green Lightning is an exclusive story you won't find anywhere else. This is my second book, and I decided to bring it to life as an audiobook, here, just for you. For now, we journey chapter by chapter, part by part, not because of lack, but because we are building this magic together. As this channel grows, I hope to craft even longer, richer adventures for you in the future. But for now, come forward, settle in, and listen closely. The story awaits. The Green Lightning by Hagop Kaladjian. Chapter 1 Part 1. After the Great War between the Demon Lord and the Five Kingdoms, peace finally returned to the lands of men. The key to victory had not been strength alone, but a deep truth uncovered about their monstrous foes. The beasts of the Demon Lord's army were all bound by ancient magic, tethered to a single source. As long as the Demon King lived, his armies surged and multiplied without end. But if the king fell, so too would the legions, vanishing like shadows cast from a broken lantern. And so, when the Five Kingdoms united and struck down the Demon Lord, the monstrous hordes crumbled into dust. The world rejoiced. Humanity was victorious. Yet peace comes at a cost. 5 years passed under the banners of peace, and in that time, the world began to shift. Warriors, once hailed as heroes, became unnecessary. Knights, adventurers, mercenaries, their swords dulled, their names forgotten. For in a world without war, what need was there for those who fought? A hero without a cause is no more than a fading title, a relic of a past era. Sensing the danger of losing their kingdom's defenders, and perhaps sensing the stirrings of old threats in the dark, the Five Kings made a bold decision. They transformed combat into sport. Arenas were built across the kingdoms, grand colosseums where warriors could test their mettle not against monsters, but each other. These bloodless battles became events of prestige and strategy, where kings and guild masters vied for dominance by training the strongest champions. Private duels, regional tournaments, and guild contests fed into a global spectacle, a game watched by nobles and commoners alike, bringing warriors out of retirement and drawing aimless adventurers back to purpose. Each year, the kingdom's people awaited the great tournaments, their combat hunger reborn not from fear, but from sport. Yet not all heroes heard the call. Some, far from the capitals and arenas, lingered in isolation, unaware of the world's new order. They wandered the unknown lands, bearing titles the world no longer recognized, waiting for a fate that had yet to find them. In a small city far from the bustling capital, a crowd gathered in front of a modest mansion. The square buzzed with noise, shouting, cheering, jostling for a view. A young man, perhaps in his late 20s, wandered by, curiosity catching his eye. The energy of the crowd pulled him in, and soon he found himself squeezed between shoulders and backs, craning his neck to see what all the commotion was about. At the center stood an old man. His bald head gleamed under the sun, his stature slightly shorter than average, but not enough to be called small. His shirtless torso rippled with dense, hardened muscle, the kind earned from a lifetime of battle, not show. His feet were planted firmly, arms raised in a fighter's stance, steady and confident. Across from him stood his challenger, a towering figure clad in leather armor stitched from wolf pelts, a horned helmet perched atop his head. In one hand, the challenger gripped a heavy axe, its blade broad and sharp. A Viking warrior, no doubt. The young man leaned toward someone nearby. "What's going on here?" he asked. Without looking away from the match, the man beside him answered, "That old man, he owns this mansion. One of fortune, they say. Now he's heading to the capital. But before he leaves, he decided to throw a little event. Anyone can challenge him in a fight, Just place a bet of 1 gold coin. If they can beat him, they win the mansion. The young man raised an eyebrow, intrigued. But it wasn't the mansion that caught his interest. It was the fight itself. How's an old, bare-fisted man supposed to stand against a Viking? He wondered. Let's hope that Viking isn't the berserker type. The Viking grinned wide, rolling his massive shoulders as he hefted the axe behind him. Pointing a thick, calloused finger at the old man, he growled, "Here I come." The old man lowered his stance, knees bending, muscles coiled like a spring. His eyes stayed locked, unblinking. With a roar, the Viking charged. No strategy, no finesse, only brute force. The crowd gasped as the warrior thundered forward, raising his axe high, aiming to cleave the old man in two. But just as the axe reached its peak, the old man surged forward, closing the distance in a flash. His fist shot up, striking under the Viking's elbow, locking the axe midair. Before the Viking could react, the old man's other fist slammed into his gut, a blow so powerful it bent the air around it. Boom! The Viking's body lifted clean off the ground, sent hurtling backward like a ragdoll, crashing into the crowd with a pile of stunned spectators tumbling beneath him. The square erupted in wild cheers. Men and women roared, stomping their feet, raising their hands in awe. Among them, the young man stood still, watching. For a moment, the noise around him faded, the world slowing. His mind drifted back to another roar of the crowd, the cheers of victory when he and his fellow heroes had returned from war, marching through streets lined with grateful faces. A memory sharp as a blade, buried deep. Suddenly, a shoulder bumped him, jolting him back to the present. With a quiet sigh, he turned to leave, slipping between the bodies, weaving toward the edge of the crowd. On the stage, the old man wiped his sweat with a towel, calm as ever. Then, with a half smile and a glance toward the silent, watching crowd, he called out, "Is this all we have for fighters around here? Or am I just a god among men?" The young man froze mid-step. Slowly, his head turned, just enough to cast a sharp, cutting glare over his shoulder, eyes blazing with something fierce. In his mind, a single thought pounded, louder than the cheers, heavier than the weight of the crowd. How dare you call yourself a god? Without meaning to, without thinking, his hand lifted, raised high above the crowd. The chatter stopped. Slowly, people began stepping away, making space, eyes snapping to him with curiosity and surprise. Another challenger. All eyes traced him carefully, scanning the young man now stepping forward into the open circle. He wore no armor, no helmet, no sword, only a simple bag slung over his back, something large and heavy half tucked inside, its shape is masked under layers of wrapped cloth. It looked almost like a giant mirror or slab, impossible to tell at a glance. Physically, he was ordinary. No bulging muscles, no warrior's scars, nothing impressive at all. Just a man, walking calmly into the open. He set his bag gently on the ground. The old man observed, studying every move. But instead of raising his fists, the old man smirked, relaxed. "You don't even look like a fighter," he said lightly. But then, something. No physical blow, no word spoken, just a feeling, sharp and sudden, creeping into the old man's gut. A wave of unease, uninvited, unexplained. His smile faded slightly. "What's your name, young man?" he asked, voice firming. "Melvik," came the calm reply. The old man crossed his arms, eyeing Melvik up and down. His brow furrowed slightly, not in anger, but concern. "Look at you," the old man said, shaking his head. "No armor, no sword. You're dressed like a traveler, not a fighter." He took a slow step forward. "I created this event for a reason, not just for gold or fame. This mansion was my father's. It was his dying wish that the house he built with his own hands would never pass to just anyone. He wanted it to stay in the hands of a fighter, someone worthy, someone strong, not a boy wandering by in ragged clothes." The crowd murmured in agreement. Some even chuckled softly, casting sideways glances at Melvik. But Melvik didn't flinch. He stepped calmly into the circle, his eyes steady on the old man, his tone flat. "I just wanted to prove you're nowhere near worthy of calling yourself a god, old man." For a moment, Silence hung between them. The old man raised an eyebrow, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "Did you see that Viking fly? I've been challenged all day long, and yet no fighter has even touched me." "I did," Melvik answered. "And that man is far from calling himself a Viking. If he were a real Viking, you wouldn't be standing here without a bruise or blood. You might have won, but it would have been a bloody, brutal fight." The old man's lips curled into a grin as his fingers played thoughtfully with his beard. Interesting. Looks like we've got ourselves a comedian here." He burst into laughter, his voice booming through the square, and the crowd quickly joined in, their laughter rolling like a wave. But then, the old man raised a hand, silencing them. His face grew more serious. "You speak words bigger than yourself, Master Melvik. I still don't want to fight you. But after what you said, I want to teach you a lesson." Kaladjian smirked. "Well then, let's see what you can do, Melvik the Wise." A few people in the crowd chuckled at the nickname. Kaladjian settled into his stance. Across from him, Melvik didn't move. No stance, no shift, just stillness. The moments stretched long, the silence thick. The air itself seemed louder now, the quiet hanging heavy as the crowd watched with bated breath, waiting, eyes darting between the two men. Inside, Kaladjian felt something gnawing at him. What is this unease? This man didn't look fierce. He had no weapon. He hadn't even taken a stance. Why does my body want to back down? Maybe Melvik was bluffing, perhaps he was more afraid than he looked, but the things he said, the way he spoke, that wasn't the voice of a man making jokes or showing off. Kaladjian's grin widened. "So, Master Melvik, will you be attacking anytime soon?" Melvik's calm eyes stayed on him. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. "You want me to attack you?" No reply. Melvik gave a small nod. "Very well, here I come." But instead of bracing or charging, Melvik simply began walking forward, calm, measured steps, closing the space between them. Kaladjian's eyes flickered, a sharp thought flashing in his mind. Is this guy serious? Or is he playing me? Making me look like a fool in front of everyone? People murmured, "What is he doing? Is he crazy?" As Melvik got very close to him, Kaladjian couldn't hold back. Without a second thought, Kaladjian surged forward, dashing to close the gap. Melvik wasn't striking, so Kaladjian went for the opening, driving his fist straight toward the young man's stomach. But at the last instant, Melvik twisted, a smooth, minimal movement, and Kaladjian's punch hit nothing but air. In one fluid motion, Melvik's left hand caught Kaladjian's punching arm from the side, locking it mid-swing. His right hand shot up, fingers closed together, aiming straight at Kaladjian's exposed throat. But then, it stopped, frozen just inches away. The crowd was dead silent. No one had seen what just happened. It had been too fast, too smooth. All they saw was the final pose. Kaladjian's punch held out midair, and Melvik's fingers hovering at his throat, a blow that could have been lethal, but never landed. The tension in the air was electric. Kaladjian's senses caught up all at once. His eyes darted down to the hand pressing against his bearded chin, the hand that had stopped him mid-strike. Melvik loosened his grip, stepping back slightly. A flush of rage surged through Kaladjian's chest. He jumped back, landing several paces away, his fists clenched. How did he move that fast? How did he slip past my punch, like I was standing still? His eyes narrowed, heart pounding. "You got lucky back there," he barked, his voice echoing over the hushed crowd. No one argued. No one even breathed. Most of them still had no idea what had just happened. Kaladjian didn't wait. Without warning, he lunged forward, roaring, "You think you're strong? Let's see if you can dodge this." He sprinted a few heavy steps, then leapt. Soaring high, twisting his shoulders midair, Kaladjian's body pushed the air aside with a loud rush. At the peak of his jump, his whole body pivoted downward, his fist pulling gravity itself as he crashed toward Melvik with terrifying speed. The wind screamed around him, a sharp, whistling sound cutting through the square. Before the fist could reach Melvik's face, the ground shook with a deafening crack. Dust exploded upward, swallowing everything. The crowd gasped and shielded their eyes as the cloud billowed out, hiding the fighters from view. And then, silence. When the dust began to settle, the people turned, hearts pounding, eyes wide. Who was left standing? Was it Gillian or Melvick? This story will continue next week. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2. And tell us in the comments, who do you think won the fight?